Hey, everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Ben. My name is Ben Barber. I am, of course, the host of the show. And today I am joined by my brand new friend, Margaret Dunning. Margaret, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's good to meet you in person. We did have a Zoom once a couple weeks ago, and I really wanted to have you on the show because you have a fascinating story, and also you really love Westerly.
Yes,
Y
I do.
which is why you reached out to me, and that's always a really fun thing to see. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got here, and, just tell us whatever you wanna share.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be in Westerly. And yes, so I originally grew up in Coventry. So to end up in Westerly is, a Rhode Island perspective is a very exciting and adventurous thing to do. But yeah, it's been so far a really nice transition. And one of the more interesting things in my life is I used to be in a wheelchair and I am now able to walk about. So I'm proud of that. And I also drive, which was one of the hardest things for me to get my license.
Yeah.
And like I said, and now I also walk around Westerly, which is very fun because this town is definitely set up for walking.
It is. It's actually, sometimes it's harder to drive,
Yes.
downtown
Yeah.
especially.
The roundabout is quite
Yeah.
quite a chore.
So I have a couple questions for you. Number one, you were one of the first people under 18 ever to get these sort of revolutionary um, transplants and surgeries that allowed you to go from being in a wheelchair to walking. Is that true?
Yes, total joint replacements, they called them.
Wow.
And
S-
and by the time I had gotten mine done, I was 16 at the time when I had my first one, and they were only 10 years old, and they only did them on people who were, quite older and, um well, yeah, because one of the things that they discovered is they only have about a 10-year lifespan themselves.
right.
So you can imagine being 16, having a knee replacement, and then having to have it done again
At
at
26, yeah.
26.
Yeah.
So, and it also can affect whether or not you can have children.
Yep.
You can't get pregnant if you have hip replacements. But at the time, they had decided that I wouldn't be able to carry babies anyway
Right.
because well, in case everyone's wondering what put me in the wheelchair, I ended up getting juvenile rheumatoid arthritis by the time I was 9 months old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rheumatoid arthritis, or RA, as it's generally called, is debilitating autoimmune disease, and it's very rare for juvenile RA, which
Yes.
which actually has a different name now, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's even that the whole rheumatology department has revolutionized the approach to how it treats people and what it does. Because I was growing up in a time in the 80s being sick when they were basically guessing uh, as they go along, and ironically, it was you know steroids that they treated you with
Right.
back then, and still they rely on they have newer things, obviously, biologics,
Right.
which are all the rage. And I did try a biologic, actually. Um, it didn't go well for me.
No.
That's the other problem is I seem to be very sensitive to things.
Right.
So like any medications that they would give me, I would always do the crazy, the side effects you hear on the commercial may cause explosive diarrhea or all those things. That was like me. It's like one dose, and I was
Yeah.
so that made treatment quite tricky. Um, and yeah, so I was 16 when I had been in the wheelchair completely, and I decided, well, I really wanted to do it, and so there was a specialist up in Massachusetts. he actually worked on athletes. So to get me in his office, I'm not an athlete. I'm not the size of an athlete. I'm about the size of an 8-year-old. So, and even my mother, who was scared to death at the time, I figure I always let her do the worry. And I was just like, sign me up. I don't know. It's always been the way. Like my mom, I guess that's the mom thing, right? They panic, and I'm like, no, let's do this. So he put me, yeah, he did the first replacement on me. And I'd like to say that it went really well and awesome. But I ended up having some kind of reaction. My body went into total shock, they call it.
Oh wow.
So then they said that what they would do the next time, the next go around, was give me like a high dose of prednisone
Right.
to, kind of chill the body out.
Yep.
But it also took me a year to recover from that replacement. So, and we did that one, and it went really well. Like when, you make the mistakes with the first one, but the second one did go well. And the regular small adult fit in my body, so that was good.
Oh, good.
And I ended up with with the titanium ones, which was also exciting because the other metals didn't end up so well for some people. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But yeah, and then we did the knees, and it's interesting because my mom said to him, make sure you have the right size, because even when he did my hips, he said, oh my goodness, he's like, first of all, my bones are like sponges instead of bones.
Yeah.
And then he said that it fit like perfectly. like any smaller, I wouldn't have been able to take the hip replacement. So then when I signed up for the knee replacement, he said, oh no, yeah, that's fine, we took all the measurements. And I remember they they woke me up
Yeah.
from the surgery, and I was all excited. And I, for whatever reason, when I woke up from surgery, I knew something wasn't right. And so then my mom said, they didn't do the surgery. And I was like, well, what the?
Right.
So
Something's not right, obviously.
Yeah, because the knee itself had been custom designed.
Right.
It was some random engineer who custom designed it because they were like, no, the smallest knee is not going to fit in her body. And so they had a custom knee built for me and sent up to Massachusetts. And when he had me in the OR, there's the surgeon saying, checking, they check
Yeah.
for all, make sure they're ready. The head nurse had to tell him, and he's a big man. He's a very, yeah. And she said, we can't find the knee. And he was like, what do you mean we can't find the knee? It was specially delivered
Oh my goodness.
last night, and it's gone this morning. So they apparently, while I was out, they went crazy tearing this OR apart, trying to find this knee. I mean, it was custom in a box, medically sealed, right?
This is an episode of Scrubs
Right?
that you're describing right now.
And
This is
yeah. And so then they found the box, ironically. And now this thing was, medically done. So it was specifically stolen. And that's what they said, that because the knee came from Johnson and Johnson, the medical delivery guy who came in after saw the box, Johnson and Johnson medical special equipment.
Yep.
So he, for whatever reason, decided to steal it because he had been fired from Johnson and Johnson.
Oh my God.
So he wanted to make them look foolish, but instead he made himself look foolish.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So then my poor mother, who's, like, here we go again with surgery, sees the doctor 45 minutes later, and it took 16 hours for them to do the first hip and 10 hours for them to do the second hip. So in 45 minutes, she, to see my doctor who's supposed to be performing surgery coming down the hallway, she was like, and he's like, no, no, she's not dead, but we can't find the knee. So when they woke me up, I'm like, get me out of here. And
Oh my
so they
god.
took me home, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, trying to process what had just happened to me, right?
Yeah.
I was like the victim of somebody's random revenge. And then I was rubbing my knee, right? And I realized that I realized how far they'd gotten with cutting my knee open before they stopped. Like they shaved it and everything. And I thought, my God, what if they had cut it open and then been like, knee, and then realized they I lost my mind for a moment. But
Wow.
then they called me up and they said, please come back. Because the guy who designed my knee apparently decided to keep it back, on a CD.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers what a CD is. So they were like, please come back. We'll do the surgery. It'll, they'll have security. And I was like, because I really wanted to get out of the wheelchair. And at this
Yeah.
point, I did 2 hip replacements down.
Yeah.
And so
So
I did. I went back.
so how many surgeries did it take? I assume that it was one hip surgery, wait a little bit, another hip surgery, wait a little bit, knee surgery, wait a little bit, knee surgery.
Yeah.
So
So
it
the
was 4
first,
total or
it was,
5, unfortunately.
yeah, it was the first hip, a year later, the second hip, then a year later, the knee, 2 weeks later, not 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, the second knee. Because they typically don't like to do the knees unless they do them very close together.
Right.
Because if you don't rehab the joints properly,
Yep.
then they don't last and hold up as well.
Okay.
So
So were you so first surgery 16,
yeah,
second surgery 17, last 2 surgeries 18.
I think it was like a 2 year in between,
Okay.
2 years from the hips to
So
recover.
so you're like 20 years old
Yeah.
and you can now, what is it like? So you were born without the ability to walk, right? So
Actually, no.
or
I was
no,
I was born perfectly healthy,
right.
perfectly healthy,
And
and
then
then the arthritis started to deform my joints with being by swelling them
yeah,
and deteriorating them, and I lost the ability to walk completely by the time I was 8.
okay.
Yeah, 8 years
So,
old. I
so
just
for so for 12 years
Yep,
you had been in a wheelchair.
yep.
What was it like? Obviously,
Oh
probably
yeah,
incredibly hard, first of all, right? I assume lots of physical therapy and all of that stuff to rehab those things and
yeah.
learn
Because
how to
it
walk
was
again.
it was quite intense um trying to keep me out of the wheelchair, because that was one of the things. Like my mom and the doctors, they were like, look, it doesn't seem to matter anything we give her or do for her. It's steadily progressing,
Right.
right? This disease is just hardcore taking on my body. And so we did pool therapy. We did physical therapy, but at the end of the day, nothing stopped it. No, I've tried steroids, I've tried gold shots, um, all kinds of treatments. Physical therapy in the pool is what saved me the most.
Yeah.
Even today, I do the heated pool at the YMCA,
I love
and
I love working out in the pool. I
it's
love pool
amazing.
therapy. It's awesome.
Yeah, water therapy.
Yeah.
It's been a
The
lifesaver.
literally a pool is the happiest place on earth for me. Like
Right, you and me both.
I want to be in the water all the time.
Yep.
Um so okay, so you're 20 years old, and you were told, you're never going to walk again. And then you were told, okay, you're 16, we're going to try out these surgeries on you. We've never done it.
Yeah.
And we're going to try out these surgeries. You have 2 surgeries a year apart. You wait 2 years, you have another surgery. Somebody steals your custom built knee,
Yeah.
um, which is one of the most ridiculous stories I've ever heard. Somebody steals your custom built knee, then they say, no, 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 we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. We have it again, and we have security this time. You come back, you do it. 4 weeks later, you do the next one. You go through unimaginable physical therapy and learning how to write. I assume
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right.
once you have all four new pieces of your legs.
Ironically, though, the first thing the orthopedic surgeon told me was that he would fix my joints, but he was not doing it so I could walk. He was doing it to relieve my pain because he still thought that the shape I was in, even with the replacements, I'd never be able to walk. And if I did, my bones would, break all the time,
Right.
because there's just not much there around the joint to maintain it.
So
So that was what he said to me. He's like, I want to be clear. He says, this is for pain relief. This is not to get you walking.
right.
I don't know. I've always had this very determined attitude, I guess.
Right.
And I remember I told him, I said, look, you do your job and I'll do mine.
There you go.
And we'll see what happens.
And spoiler alert, you walked into this office today.
Yes.
So
that's right.
kudos to you and
and I'm a long way from 10 years out. So
yeah.
I've got these knees and hips still carrying me. I did have one hip revised
Yep.
back in the day, but the revision didn't take well. So it's a little wonky, if you want to call it that. But they have said that they're not entirely sure if they could fix it.
Yeah.
Because I still have the same problem. I don't have a lot to work with.
Right.
And every time you drill and poke, you weaken what's already little there.
Absolutely.
So
and then secondly, one of the things about hip replacements that you said, and probably just excuse me, I don't know how much was it, just the hip replacements, or was it the disease in general of well, actually you said earlier, right, they don't do hip replacements on somebody so young because you can't have children after a hip replacement, but they thought with your situation that you were in and your physical health and the way that the juvenile RA was attacking your body, that was not a possibility for you anyway.
Yes.
And would you like to would you like to let everybody know that you once again proved them wrong?
I currently have an 11-year-old child that I have to look up to that I did carry. So, yeah, that one was interesting because, like I said, when I turned 19, I had my first gynecologist appointment because I hadn't had any kind of development. And they were like, no, it'll come. It might have been put off, from the medical trauma and the prednisone treatments, everything. Just they said when the disease probably goes into remission, you might have whatever you want to call it. And so then they were like, well, do you want kids? And I was like, since I was little, since I can remember, since I was 5 years old, any doctor appointment that I'd gone to, it was always, it's not good. You know what I mean? Like they would say to my mother, it's not good. And we don't think she's going to make it. Like, we don't think she's going to make it to this age, or we don't think. And it's a very daunting thing to grow up and be an adult, living in an adult world, when you have been told
you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
You've been told the entire time you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. So it is
absolutely
quite daunting because here I am.
Keep going.
Okay. I was going to say, here I am, 44 years old.
Right.
And, trying to figure out how to live when I'm not supposed to be alive.
Yep.
And from what I hear, 44 is tricky for anyone. So your 40s are a challenging time.
And yet here you are.
And not
And
only am I 40, I'm in my 40s, I'm alive, and I'm a mother.
right,
So,
of an 11-year-old that you
yes,
look up to,
walking,
and
talking, healthy boy.
exactly.
So,
Um, so what you have an absolutely fascinating story, and you've shared that story with a lot of people. You've done some motivational speaking or some
yes.
speaking engagements. And what is that like to share your story with people, and to what has that been like for you?
I always enjoy sharing my story because I think it there's something in it, even as crazy as my stories are. One of the things I've tried to make sure people understand is I'm not necessarily trying to one up you. you know,
Yep.
like I can remember when I was little, and my mom used to say, "Well, she has arthritis." The immediate response was always, "Oh, well, I my grandma has arthritis," right? And
Yeah.
then and people aren't saying it to one up you or to be like, but they're trying to share. They're trying to relate something. So,
Right.
when even now when I'm at the Y doing my therapy, I am, I have a lot that I can relate to with the retired crowd, right?
Yep.
Because I have the same issues. I have, they're contemplating replacement or keeping their bodies moving,
Yep.
and so it's like I don't go there to try, and I don't ever try to one up people, but I try to share my stories so that people can maybe say, well, okay, it's possible, right?
Right.
It really is possible.
Yeah.
So
Um, so the you know, we have a hold on a second. We have a comment from Nancy Hatfield who says inspiring. Um, thank you, Nancy. The the overall um reason that I wanted to have you on the show was because you reached out to me about um, starting your own show, and talking to people and sharing this and whatever. What would you want that show to be about? I'm just asking you live on the
yeah,
air. What would you
I'm like thinking.
yeah, what would you want that show to be about? And my you talked about people sharing their own experiences with you. I told you this when we met the first time. My girlfriend has rheumatoid arthritis, adult
Yep.
normal rheumatoid
Yeah, I'm following you.
RA, and lupus, and that is its own set of struggles. And
Yes.
everybody has something, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has, whether it's physical or emotional, or both, or whatever it may be. Trauma, people are dealing with things all the time. And one of the things that her and I have wanted to do for a while is start a show called Healing Isn't Linear, which is it's a mantra that she reminds herself of all the time, and that she reminds me of all the time, because I've gone through a lot of stuff myself, which I'm not going to bore our audience with because they've heard it. Um, but that idea that everybody has a story, and everybody has gone through something, and to not even come out on the other side, because sometimes there isn't. It's not about that.
Right.
It's about making the best of the situation that you have, and doing your best every day. And you said it best, right? You said to your doctor, "You do your job, I'll do mine."
Yes.
And I think I think that's incredibly inspiring. What would you want your show to be about?
I think probably just to inspire people to take control of their own bodies, right?
Hmm.
Like a lot of people, what happens is we don't really learn a lot about our bodies. If we have physically able bodies, we sort of take them for granted.
Right.
And then it's not until something goes wrong where a person really, especially today, they get on the Google and they're like, okay, what's wrong with me and how do I fix it?
Yep.
And what's the fastest way to fix it? And everything I've learned is it's not fast and it's not easy, but it is a commitment. It's a
Right.
commitment to yourself, and it's a commitment to. I read this book once called "The Body Keeps Score," and
Okay.
it's almost about like how the body will be instigated by your choices, and how it will decide to function based on whether you're making good choices physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
your diet even. And so what happens is you might think you're getting away with it today, for going out, maybe, who knows, going out drinking, or go whatever it is.
Staying up too late.
Right, right. But the body will keep score of that, and it might not affect you the next day or the week, but it will alert you and be like, look, something's up. We need to change this. And sometimes it's drastic. Sometimes you have to really do drastic changes, like look at your sleep schedule, look at your diet, look at your social life. Do you have one? and
Right.
and if I could help maybe one person get inspired to realize that, when they get up in the morning and they make some choices, even if they only have small ability to make small choices,
Yep.
then that's all they need. They just need a few small good choices to,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
I
it.
love it. Well, thank you, Margaret, for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. I would personally love if you asked us about starting a podcast, and etc. All of that stuff. A couple. I would love if you wanted to do that show with 321 Westerly. We would love to have you have your own show on the network.
Okay.
So if you're interested in that, that's open. We can talk about that off air. But
Yeah.
you have a fascinating story. You are an incredibly eloquent speaker, and
Thank you.
we'd love to have you around and have you part of the team.
Well, thank you. I'd be glad to join.
So, um, final thing is, what are some of the things? Because I know that you love Westerly and that you have a passion for Westerly, and you followed us and you followed, a lot of people that were, making noise in the town or events and stuff like that. The United Theater, the Chamber, Caswell. That guy never shuts up.
He's
He,
the event coordinator.
he's the event
I
coordinator for Westerly.
decided if you want to
You
have an
decided.
event in Westerly, Caswell Cook is your man.
You decided that. Margaret decided that.
Yep.
Well, the beach agrees with you, and probably so does Caswell. So what are some of your Westerly favorites? We have a question of the day on Facebook. A lot of days where today is what's your favorite coffee shop in town, which I asked because I didn't. I as you know was running around, didn't have time for anything this morning, so I went to Dunkin', which I
Oh
do
my
not like.
goodness. Yeah, it's
I
very
don't.
unwesterly
I
of you.
do not like Dunkin' Donuts
We're
at
supposed to
all.
be loyal to the
I
little ones.
I do not like Dunkin' Donuts at all. So my apologies specifically to Fresh Cup and Jamie, to Junkin' Java and Alexis. So I apologize. I try to not. I love Bessie and Honeydew more than Dunkin',
Yeah. Well,
and
I
that
know
they're
it's
making the
quite.
Starbucks right
I was
here,
going to
and
say it's
that's
controversial.
it's
We have
controversial right
Starbucks
now. So
coming in.
I wanted to give
So
love to Stick and Fin and all of those places right now.
Stick and Fin is a good time.
Perks and
But I was
Corks,
going to say
obviously.
my thing is I like to hang out at Perks and Corks because my favorite spot is the library
Yep.
and the garden, the park. And there's nothing better than being able to walk across the street to Perks and Corks, and they have good sandwiches. They have excellent drinks. So, and I mean, anyone who's ever had the privilege of experiencing Sunday Fun Day in Westerly, I mean, it's like living in a Hallmark movie.
Shout out to the Ocean Community Chamber of
Yeah,
Commerce.
they really know what they're doing. I
Are
mean, it's
now
always been a good time.
are you going to be attending the light parade on
I'm going to
Sunday?
try everything. I tell everybody because I have, between my body, my disease, and my getting up there in age. I definitely am going to try. The older I get, I don't like to go out at night, which light parades at night,
Yep.
and I don't do well in the cold. So,
Well,
but my
we're going to
goal
be
is to
streaming.
go.
So we are. I hope you can go because I think you're going to really enjoy it if you're able to. But if you're not able to go, and this goes for everybody, we are going to be streaming the light parade on Sunday.
Oh
So
well, my son is looking for someone to ride in the truck with. So if anyone wants to take an 11-year-old boy, on the parade. He wants to see it. He told me last year. He's like, "Ma, wouldn't it be so cool to ride in one of the trucks?" I was like, "It would, my man, it would."
All right.
Because we've watched it from the sides,
Yeah.
and it was cool.
So if anybody wants to, if anybody wants an 11-year-old on their float, contact us, team@321. I'll put my email
I promise
out there.
he's a very well behaved boy.
There you go. I'll put my email out there, team@321westerly.com, and we'll get Margaret's son on your float. I'll reach out to I don't know if they're having people on their float, but I'll reach out to Christchurch Westerly. I know they have a float.
Oh yeah,
coming up in
him
the
and
parade.
my son and I helped serve the supper this year at Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah, because that was something when I started
call Christy.
walking. I started walking, and really when I was in my 24, right, is when I was done with surgery, and I was in the top position physically fit as I could be after all the physical therapy. And so I remember the doctor, I was like, well, what do I do now? Right? What do I do?
Yeah.
And he's like, get a life. So that's what I started doing.
Get a life.
Yeah. I started doing social things, something other than doctor appointments, something other than physical therapy. My God, for one point, I was like a gym rat, that's it. And so, so I started to take this body out and, do social events. And it was one of the things that I did with my father is we would serve the homeless. He retired back in the day and started a thing where, because he found out that the homeless shelters, they'll feed them at night when they let them in, the homeless people, but they toss them out 6 o'clock in the morning with nothing. And so he was like, geez, this is New England. So he started a thing where he got coffee and donuts donated, and him and I would deliver. Sometimes he'd come home covered in every kind of chocolate jimmy and frosting. And then we did it for the holidays as well, for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So this year, my father is no longer with us. So I told my son, I said, well, we'll see if we can find somewhere that's serving, and we'll do, we'll bring it back. And he was so thrilled. He loved it.
Did you find out about the community Thanksgiving dinner from Caswell? from all the Caswell posts?
I did. And I went over and we served, and it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely.
Oh,
the food
awesome.
was lovely. The people were lovely. It was a good time.
All
and my man Caswell was there.
All right, yeah. Call if you have Caswell's number, give him a call. If not, email Christy at the church and ask her about the float, because I know that they do have they are doing a float in the light parade, or I believe at least that they're doing a float in the. I could be wrong. I'm sure that your son might be welcome there. Well, thank you so much. We have to get going. We'll be right back with Doug's open mic at 10 a.m. Thank you so much, Margaret Dunning, for being on the show. Really appreciate it. This is not the last we're going to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, it feels like we just got started.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you to our sponsors, Lathrop Insurance, Roof Right Roofing, Kiefer's Martial Arts. Give the gift of self-discipline, indomitable spirit, perseverance, and so much more. Check out kiefersmartialarts.com. Or go check them out in person in the Granite Plaza. I want to thank you to Rio's Barbershop, to John Fazaro at Coldwell Banker Coastal Homes, D&V Mechanical. Thank you to everybody that's watching this show right now. We'll be back in a couple minutes with Doug's open mic. And don't forget to download the 321 Radio app in the App Store or Google Play. Never miss a minute of any of the action. And by the way, tonight is the boys away game. For boys basketball at Westerly High School. We will be covering that on the app only. So download that app. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Hi, this is Dan from Lathrop Insurance. In this challenging insurance environment, Lathrop Insurance can be your beacon in the storm to help you find the coverage you need at the right price. Now, more than ever, you need a partner in the insurance industry that can work with multiple carriers to make sure you have the right coverage at the right price. Lathrop Insurance carries home, auto, and business insurance and can be reached at 401-596-2525. We've been supporting the local community since 1939, and we look forward to working with you.